That is absolutely mad. It's pitch black out here. So, Walksnail have updated their digital FPV system. So, they've actually gone to V2 now, and we've got a different video transmitter, and there's two new kits. So, one is basically like a kind of low light camera, which that's its kind of main selling point. And the other one is a new updated micro camera with slightly higher frames per second, a 4x3 native sensor, and you can find the technical details out on other channels, you know, that will explain this in a lot of detail. What I'm interested in seeing is whether this works any better than the previous setup. I actually did, before DJI brought out the O3 system, the O3 digital FPV system, I actually kind of dipped my toe in with Walksnail to see what it was all about, because it was the only other system, well, there was no other system at that time that offered 1080p and kind of, you know, like an updated version of a digital FPV system, you know, versus the original DJI FPV system. So yeah, I wasn't that impressed in the first early days, because they kind of got this product out and there were bugs, and there was a lot of kind of hoo-ha about it. But I've got to say, I tested Walksnail recently, not on this yet, but I tested Walksnail recently, and apologies for the fan kicking in on the charger. Yeah, so basically I've tested out Walksnail pretty recently on the latest firmware on the goggles and the VTX, the original VTX, and I shoved it in my EOS, so you can see that's a V1 VTX in there, in this EOS 5. I smashed the camera on this flight. I've never ever smashed a camera on anything. So, I don't know, that just must be really unlucky. But I've got to say, I'm quite impressed with the new firmware. Everything's a lot more stable, the image quality is better, and, you know, just generally jumping, you know, I'd left it alone for a couple of months just to let them sort their shit out, basically, and yeah, they've done a really good job, and it is actually working. It's ready for prime time now, I think, and the latency I was getting was really low, like 20 milliseconds or 22 milliseconds, something like that. So excited by that. I went and grabbed their HD Pro kit, which is the low light one, so the low light camera, and what I've done is I've stuck it on a little 2.5-inch build, because I think this could be really useful. You don't want to be flying like a 5-inch at night time. I mean, maybe you do, but I just thought it'd be really cool for those summer evenings. Want to have a little fly, it's getting dark and you just can't really fly anything else. You know, whether this would actually be quite a good thing to do. So yeah, I've got it installed in here. You can see that the actual unit itself, the VTX, let's try and get a, so you can see the VTX there. It has actually changed. It's a bit fatter, it's got more metal on it, helps with the heat. They've changed all the connectors as well, so you can't just plug and play it with your older system, you'd have to change the connectors. You can see also what they've done is they've added solder pads, so you can solder it just like a Caddx Vista, which is really nice. I like that idea. It's much better than having connectors hanging out the side of it. There goes the fan again. I'm just going to roll with it. Also, they've changed the antenna system, so there's only one antenna, which is great, because for small things like this, although this frame's quite good because you've got like these little this little TPU mount which handles two antennas. Yeah, it's just a pain having two antennas. One is better, and apparently the range doesn't, you know, decrease noticeably from what I've seen in the technical tests that other people have done. So yeah, it's in there. Camera looks really nice. The camera's also got a gyro in it. Now, I don't know, I don't think they're just trying to obviously, you know, keep up with DJI, because they've got a gyro in their camera and you can, you know, use that to stabilise the footage. This doesn't stabilise the footage on board like DJI does, but it does give you gyro data, so you can process it with gyro flow. I've never had any luck with gyro flow, but anyway, it's there if you need it, but it is still only 1080p 60 frames a second recording, so, you know, it's not, you're not going to use this for shooting any serious video. So to take a look at the footage that I've recorded on the VTX, so this is basically 1080p 60 footage recorded on the actual VTX itself, not via the goggles, the DVI, that's going to come next. So you can see pretty decent picture quality. It's not bad at all. Like all of these kind of digital systems, you find that when you first look at it and you're sort of looking at it in the goggles and, you know, the quad's on the ground and nothing's moving, it looks like, it's like, wow, like you get a really, really amazing kind of perception of what it looks like. As soon as you start moving, you see some pixelation, and you can see that sort of here is really coming through the trees, a bit of pixelation coming there. So, you know, for onboard recording, It's not bad. It's not as good as DJI, but you know, it's pretty decent. And this is unstabilized as well. As I say, I didn't even bother with the gyro flow stabilization because I've never got on with it, and it's always made things look a whole heap worse. So next up, we've got the goggles DVR footage of the same little flight. Still 1080p 60, and that comes out in a 1080p 60 file on the goggles. So you can see here, look, it's kind of blurring a little bit in the middle as the compression is really doing more of a job because it's got to send it over the radio link. So you can see that kind of here manifesting in some sort of, you know, blurry bits. Now, you know, the lighting isn't too bad here. So you see that on the top of the tree there, it was a little bit of pixelation. There is actually a focus mode, which I've tried, which is pretty much unflyable for me because what it does is it just puts all the priority on the center part of the image, basically like that. See that? The way that actually kind of done that's automatically selecting that focus mode. So now we've got some faster footage, and I've overlaid the latency. So you can see here 1080p. We've got a latency of 35 milliseconds, 36, you know, going up and down. For some reason that bitrate isn't changing, but I'm hooning around here and I can do that just fine. Everything's kind of looking nice, and then absolutely bin it. So now what I'm going to show you is, look at this one. So this is 720p, but the latency is 23 milliseconds. So this is seriously low, you know, compared to the other systems. So you've got this low latency, high frame rate mode, which, you know, you're going to suffer some quality in the goggles, as we've seen here. But, you know, you can't see the top of the trees there. That was a bit awkward. But, you know, this is giving you really responsive kind of latency, and that is probably why I'm, you know, pushing the envelope a bit with this flying. So it's really interesting what Walksnail are doing here. You know, they're giving you kind of the best of all worlds. And I'll crash again. Right, guys. So it's a bit later now. I'm out in the garden, and you can see it's pretty dark. It's sort of dusk. This camera is really good for low light, actually. This is a Sony RX100. So you can see here, it's very low light. I've got a O3 drone, a little baby hawk with an O3 on it, and I've got a iFlight IH2 with the new Walksnail camera on it. 2 sets of goggles, and obviously my Crossfire transmitter here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to have a look through the goggles first of all, and just see, you know, what we can see in the goggles as a difference. I'll just hold the camera up to the goggles so you can actually see, and I'll also put the footage from both of the air unit and the Walksnail. All right, okay. So this is the O3, so you can see, you know, this isn't armed either, so the quality will be a bit lower at the moment. So let's just arm it. Right, I've just armed both quads, so we've got it in the full power, both in the full power mode. So you can see that's the O3. So, you know, there's not a lot of detail there. You can see the sky, but that's about it. And that is the Walksnail. So you can actually see in there, it's quite a bit more. You can see everything pretty much, and you'll see from the footage what I mean. Right, let's get Helen's opinion then. So it's pretty dark out here, isn't it? It's, you know, dusk. It's not pitch black, but it's...
I love that word,
dusk. Right, so pick up the first set of goggles. This is the DJI one. And have a look. See what you can actually see through there.
Not a lot.
It's dark, isn't it?
Yeah, no, really dark, and sort of looks like it's snowing upwards.
Would you fly it like that?
No.
No chance.
You might.
No, I wouldn't even do that. That's just, you just can't see anything, can you?
No.
Right, so try the other goggles now. So this is the Walksnail goggles.
I can already see through there. It's loads better, yeah. Yeah, no, it's not quite daylight, but
it's
really
viewable.
Clear. Yeah, definitely. If I could fly a drone, I'd have a go.
So the light's going even more now, let's see down there. We've got so obviously these lights on here, but this is reality. This is what it's going to be. You're going to have areas, aren't you, where there's going to be lights, the odd lights. I could turn those off, but so I'm going to try. Just going to try and fly this around here and see what happens. Now I have got an LED on the bottom of this, so it might not be completely fair, but you know, it wouldn't make any difference to the DJI system, that LED being on the bottom anyway. And it's getting brighter as well for some reason. I can actually see my light underneath. Yeah, that is totally flyable, totally flyable. That's amazing, and the frame rate is actually really good as well. That is pretty incredible. I can see branches, I can see all the detail. I mean, you know, obviously it's not that fair because I've got the LEDs on the bottom, but you get the idea. Like even with that on, absolutely crazy. Mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad. Now obviously the question is, you can't, you know, there's not going to be very many cameras that you're going to be able to actually put on the drone to get a good quality, a high quality bit of footage from, you know, the camera. So like an action camera with very low light ability is going to be, yeah, it's not going to happen. Not on a quad this small anyway. You know, to get a really good low light performing camera, you're probably going to need to have something like one of my Sonys mounted to like a Nazgul or something like that. So that, guys, you can see how dark that is. Even this camera's struggling for light. So guys, pretty impressive, I think. I really like the low light feature on this camera. That's absolutely brilliant, being able to fly around at night or in really low light conditions, and it could be really useful if you put it on like a, you know, bigger drone that could carry a low light action cam or something like that. It's just going to make seeing things a lot more easy. And in daylight, that camera works absolutely fantastically as well. Impressed by the footage that I've got from it. Okay, look, it's not DJI O3, and it's, you know, it's never going to be that quality because you've got all that onboard recording with the high frame rates and the 4K and all that sort of stuff. So it kind of does knock it out of the park, I'm going to be honest. But as another alternative system, this is really, really good. And it's just great to see that they're bringing out new products. They're listening to what, you know, people want. And what's quite interesting here is because you've got these like two sort of modes. You've got 1080p and then you've got 720, and the 720p can obviously do that lower latency, which I think is useful. So it's kind of, that side of it is pushing it a bit closer to HD0. Okay, HD0 got that crazy low latency camera now. Also, the other camera kit that Walksnail do, funnily enough, as I'm making this video, Caddx actually emailed me and said, do I want to test this system out? So they're going to send me the micro camera, and that's really cool because it's got a 4.3 native sensor, so you get a little bit more field of view on the top and the bottom. That is a point of difference that actually might sway people to go Walksnail rather than, you know, some of the other systems. So question to all my FPV audience out there, although it is a fraction of the size of some of the other topics at the moment on this channel, according to my recent poll that I did where I asked, you know, what videos do people want to see, majority of it was kind of electric and e-bike stuff. But anyway, that is, we do it all here, guys, and I've always have done on this channel. So, you know, you can skip the videos you don't want to watch, or maybe some of them will be interested. But yeah, questions. So who's flying Walksnail? Let me know in the comments what you like about it, and, you know, why you chose it over the other systems out there. And, you know, what would you like to see from this system? I think it's got some more possibilities. They can definitely, you know, we definitely haven't seen the end of the line for this. The hardware is great. The new VTXs and everything else, you know, they're developing stuff, so it's got to be good, right? Anyway, guys, make sure you subscribe, like, do the usual stuff, and I'll catch you next time.